Have you ever tried to manifest something, but the mind won't stop? 1,000 thoughts per minute, anxiety, doubts, and nothing happens. What if I told you that the real secret to the law of attraction is not thinking more, but think less? There is a point of silence within you that activates the right frequency to attract what you want without effort, without despair. In this video, you will discover why an agitated mind sabotages your desires and how to access the vibrational state that truly manifests. If you're always trying to control everything with your mind, maybe you're doing exactly the opposite of what works. Stay with me until the end, because this could become the key to your reality. Have you ever noticed how certain thoughts seem to stick to your mind like shadows on a cloudy day? Those negative, repetitive thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," "It's going to go wrong again," "No one understands me." They seem small, but if piled up, they become walls, mental bricks, and without realizing it, the person sets up their own invisible prison, an emotional cell, where every dark idea becomes a lock. And the most curious thing, the key to getting out of this is not in strength, but in silence. This prison of ideas is born without shackles, but holds the same. It's like a spell, popular mysticism. The more you think about it, the more real it seems. There are people who live in this cell for years without knowing it exists. You know that feeling of always being tired, but for no reason, or that constant tide of self-criticism? This has a vibrational name: accumulation of dense frequency, an energy that solidifies over time, blocking the lightness of the soul. But Jana, curious thing is that this prison is not just made up of bad thoughts. Sometimes even good ideas are common if they are tied to the need for control. I need to be happy all the time. Ready? Another brick. Spiritual truth is more subtle than that. The esotericism teaches us that freedom does not come from positive thoughts, but from the ability to observe any thought without being carried away by it. Like a bird looking at the storm from above. At certain times of the day, this prison manifests itself physically: tension in the neck, a knot in the stomach, shortness of breath. The body denounces the mental prison. A simple practice that can help. Stop for 5 minutes and just breathe without doing anything else. Don't even think about breathing, just feel. That's it, practical spirituality. It is there, in this silent interval, that the first crack in the prison wall appears. Who understands the deep self-knowledge? You know that thought is just one layer of reality, a surface. There is something behind, below, above it, as if thought was smoke and consciousness was fire. But as long as a person believes that he is what he thinks, he will continue to build, day after day, his golden cell. Because yes, sometimes this prison even seems comfortable, but it's still a prison. The ancient masters of accessible, occult, like Gurdjieff or Krishnamurti, always said that freedom begins when you realize you are sleeping. And the sleep of consciousness is fueled by excess thinking. Internal noise prevents us from listening to the divine. And that's where the journey begins, realizing that the greatest enemy may not be outside, but inside, and that it whispers with our own voice. But why does this mind insist so much on the same standards? Why does she always return to the same? Fears, insecurities, repetitions. Is it just bad luck, or is there a deeper, perhaps even ancestral reason for this mental looping? Well, that brings us to the next point, and it can change the way you see your own mind forever. The human mind was not made to leave you alone. This is the naked truth. For thousands of years, the brain served as a danger radar. He was the one who said, "Beware of the lion, stay away from the dark. This plant can kill." The point is that today the lion became a ticket. The dark became rejection. The plant became the fear of making mistakes. The programming is old, but the scenario has changed. And that's why we live in a state of constant alert. What used to The survival has now become anxiety, and this is not spiritual weakness. It is poorly updated evolution. The problem is that no one taught us how to reprogram this internal radar, and without knowing this, many people think that thinking negatively is a personal defect, a character flaw, but it's just ancient biology at work in a modern world. But now, the threat is emotional. It's criticism, the trial, the what if, and therein lies the suffering. The good news is that with ancestral and metaphysical wisdom, we can hack this programming. And you don't need a temple in the Himalayas for that. A powerful practice is to write down your negative thoughts for 3 days in a row. Just observe, no judgment. Then read it out loud and ask, is this absolutely true or just a reflection of my ancestral mind trying to protect me? Clarity comes like light in the dark. From then on, something changes. The field of frequencies and energy shows that thoughts have vibrational weight, and negative thoughts, when constant, generate dense patterns in the body's electromagnetic field. This even affects the immune system. In other words, bad thinking is bad. And not just emotionally, but spiritually too. It's like a dark cloud that blocks the sun of intuition. And those who live in this cloudy sky can hardly see the signs of the universe. Therefore, understanding the origin of these thoughts is an act of compassion towards yourself. It's not about beating yourself up for thinking too much. It's about realizing that there is a logic behind repetition. And this logic can be deprogrammed. That's where the esotericism as a liberation map. It reminds us that we are not the software, we are the programmer. And when this insight arrives, a new life emerges. The popular mysticism, he already said, the mind lies. But only when you understand the reason for the lie can you laugh at it. It's like watching a magician's trick. The spell falls apart, and freedom begins. But this brings us to an even deeper problem, the habit of getting confused with our own thoughts. To believe that you are what you think, and then the game changes completely. There are people who don't have thoughts, they have thoughts, and this owner looks a lot like you. The person hears a voice saying, "You are not capable," and responds, "It is true." And then that's it. The mind became identity, thought became a mirror, and suffering won a CPF. This happens because we have been taught to trust our thoughts too much. But not every inner voice is wise. Some are just echoes of trauma. This identification is like putting on a mask and forgetting that there is a face underneath. The mind says, "You are shy," and the person lives for decades believing that, never questions, never test. And that kills the deep self-knowledge. Because instead of discovering who they are, the person repeats who they learned to be. And the pain of that is silent but constant. A background noise that sabotages relationships, decisions, dreams. A practical spirituality invites us to look at this relationship differently. It is not necessary to fight with the mind, but rather to stop following it blindly. A simple exercise is to write, "I was told I am," and list everything. Then look and ask, who told me this? When? Do I really believe this today? This self-inquiry breaks the spell of false identity, and it makes room for something much truer. Many powerful people live as if they were small. This is because they carry inherited thoughts from family, society, religion, as if they were absolute truths, but they are just codes for a system that needs to be decoded. The accessible occult has been teaching this for centuries, that the name they gave you is not your essence, that your soul is bigger than your biography, and that behind the mind there is a silence that heals when a person realizes that they can choose what to think, and even more so, that they can choose not to think. They begin to access their real freedom. It's like coming out of collective. Hypnosis, an energetic dance begins. The body relaxes, intuition flourishes, fear loses strength. But still, the thoughts keep coming. What to do then when they arrive with force? The secret is not to fight, it's watching. It's like watching a movie without going into the screen. When that thought, "I'm not enough," arises, instead of fighting back, the person takes a deep breath and thinks, "Look, the old thought has come back to visit." And let him pass. Without following it, without rejecting it. That's it, ancestral and metaphysical wisdom applied on a daily basis. It means not adding more fuel to the fire, it's letting the fire go out on its own. This technique is based on the traditions of Zen, popular mysticism, and even in ancient Hermeticism, they called it witnessing. The body feels the thought, but the soul observes. It's like a blue sky that sees the clouds without trying to change them. The sky never despairs of the storm. He just waits. And that, deep down, is energy training. Let it pass. Observe. Breathe. Back to now. In practical terms, this can be done with a simple exercise. With each negative thought, ask yourself, is this useful now? And then silence for 3 deep breaths. This deactivates the automatic cycle of the mind. It's like pulling the handbrake on a runaway train. Little by little, the person realizes that they have more power than they thought, because power is not in controlling thoughts, but not being controlled by it. And more, this is not escape, it's presence and practical spirituality at its core, because only those who can observe without sinking can truly transform. The fight weakens, acceptance dissolves, and the energy changes. The vibration of the auric field rises, the body relaxes, intuition increases. It's as if the soul breathes a sigh of relief. And in this new space, something sacred can happen. But for this internal silence to be maintained, it is necessary to cultivate a practice, a type of mind hygiene, a daily space where the being reconnects with the now. And that is exactly what the next point will reveal, a simple but extremely powerful tool, capable of transforming even the most turbulent days into portals of peace. The mind, when unobserved, becomes a wild horse. It runs wherever it wants, steps on old memories, gets lost in futures that don't even exist. But when you ride it, with presence, something magical happens. The present moment arises, an instant that demands nothing, that simply and in this now, negative thoughts lose their power. They don't disappear, but they stay small. It's just sounds in the background. The practice of full consciousness or mindfulness, it's not a monk thing or a fad, it's vibrational medicine and practical spirituality in the most accessible mode. You can start by washing the dishes, feeling the water drain, or walking, noticing each step, or even really listening to someone without thinking about the answer. This is not passivity. It is active presence, and this presence changes the energy of the house, of speech, of the body. When a person is in a state of presence, their energy field aligns. The aura expands, the body comes into coherence with the heart. It's science and esotericism holding hands. Harvard University, for example, has already proven that just a few minutes of mindfulness reduces levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. In other words, stopping to feel the now is a form of healing, a vibrational alchemy. Many find this in simple activities, painting, cooking with intention, caring for plants, watching the sunset. All of this accesses the sacred, because the sacred is in the attention. The popular mysticism, I've known this for centuries, in the faith healers, in the coffee rituals with silence, in the whispered prayers in the backyard. Everything was a call to presence, and in the silence of presence, the mind does not scream, she listens. It is in this silence that the real question begins to emerge. the one that opens doors in the unconscious, that breaks the shackles of automatic thinking, the question that has the power to dissolve not only the thought, but the thinker himself. And if you allow yourself to enter that next portal, you may discover something that no voice in your mind has ever dared to reveal. Who am I really? This seemingly simple question is a sword of light. It cuts the illusion of the mind. Undo the ego theater. Because when the thought says, you are a failure, and you respond with, who is this me that fails? Something falls apart. It's the shadow being illuminated, the deep self-knowledge. It starts there, in the act of investigating the origin of the I. This technique, used by masters like Ramana Maharshi, is powerful for a reason. It doesn't give answers. It destroys the wrong questions. The mind lives behind statements, diagnoses, labels, but the spiritual heart seeks space, not certainty. When asking, who thinks this thought, the being takes a step back, and in this retreat you access something beyond the mind, pure consciousness. A good time to apply this. When that old internal critic comes, or that mental movie of a past mistake, instead of following the plot, stop. Look inside and ask, who is watching this movie? Don't try to respond with words. Just feel the silence that comes. This silence is your true being. And he doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He simply and. It is the basis of esotericism, true. A frequency and energy of this practice are subtle but powerful. The body becomes lighter, the look changes, decisions come with more clarity, because they no longer start from fear or the ego, but from the center, from the real self. And this self is not the character, it is the writer of the story. Those who delve into this level of inquiry begin to free themselves from thought patterns that previously seemed unbreakable. This discovery leads to another dimension, a state of being that goes beyond words, labels, shapes, a state that many have touched in dreams, meditations, creative ecstasies, but few remain in it, because he demands total surrender. And that's what the next point is about, the state beyond. Thought where absolute silence reigns. Imagine a place where there is no internal dialogue, where there is no judgment, no comparison, where time slows down and the now stretches like a cosmic hug. That place exists, and it is not outside of you. It is behind the thoughts. It is the state of pure being, the Sat Chit Ananda of the Vedas, Yeshua's kingdom of heaven, the silent Tao of Chinese masters, and you don't have to die to access it, just surrender. This state is what many call awakened consciousness. It's not an idea, it's an experience. It has no form, it is pure vibration. When you reach this state, you feel as if you have returned home, without even leaving your place. Everything looks sharper, colors shine brighter, the body becomes light, the mind shuts up, and the soul sings. It is the culmination of popular mysticism, achieving the sacred in the simple. But he doesn't arrive by force, not even trying. It comes when you stop trying. It's like sleeping. You don't force sleep, you surrender to it. The same goes for inner silence. The mind screams, but the being watches. The ego kicks, but the observer remains. This is the space where real freedom is born, where the ancestral and metaphysical wisdom meet is made, where the divine finds you without the need for words. And when this experience happens, even for a few seconds, it leaves a mark, a before and after, a point of no return, because after touching the eternal, the ephemeral loses its shine. The pain continues, but it doesn't hurt as much. Fears still arise, but they do not dominate. The being knows that it is greater than all this, because he lived in silence. And this silence is a power that cannot be taught. It is incarnated. But there is still a missing piece to this puzzle. One final insight. A revelation capable of dissolving the last veil. Because it's not enough to know that the state exists. You need to know who is what accesses this state. And that recognition can change everything. You are not your thoughts. Neither does the mind that produces them. You are the one who observes, the conscience behind the eyes, the silence between the words, the space where everything happens, but nothing stays fixed. This is the final revelation, the hidden gem of esotericism. Do deep self-knowledge, yes. Practical spirituality. We are not the noise. We are the emptiness that welcomes you. We are not the storm. We are the sky where it passes. This understanding does not come from reading, but from experience. It's an internal click. How to realize you've been dreaming and wake up. Suddenly everything changes. The same problems, the same faces, the same body. But something is different, because now you know that you can choose not identify with what comes up. You have access to the still point, and from that point, life takes on another texture. That's where the radical freedom, the freedom to feel anger and not act on it, of feeling afraid and still moving forward, of having bad thoughts but not defining yourself by them. This freedom is not philosophy. It is practice. It's a daily choice. And the more you choose silence, the more it chooses you. The energy changes, opportunities arise, intuition guides, and everything flows more lightly. This revelation is a kind of subtle conspiracy, because everything around you, media, system, routine, wants to keep you identified with the mind. It wants you to think you are small, limited, fragile. But you are none of that. You are vast, luminous, eternal. The mind cannot understand you because it was born after you. You are the source, the field, the frequency it manifests. And now that this portal has been opened, what are you going to do with it?